it's your boy ACV. This isn't my first try specifically, but I have a feeling this is gonna be the first try I'm gonna post on YouTube. I'm feeling like this is the one. I just decided, for fun, let me just react and comment on shit that I watch on YouTube, shit that I do, and we'll see how it goes, just have fun with it. So right now, this was just on my homepage on YouTube. This is a theory by the GOAT Morj. To all the anime only watchers, definitely don't watch this video because it's major spoilers. It's spoilers, you know what I mean? And I mainly agree with Morj, but yeah, let's just see how it goes, and I'll see how I feel about this one. You know what I'm saying? Let's do it.
Hey everyone, so Zunesha is very likely the ancient weapon Pluton that has eaten a mythical zone fruit. That is a popular theory that is going around right now, that Zunesha might in fact be the centuries-old ancient weapon from the
It's all over
kingdom,
Twitter.
the great battleship Pluton, that has simply eaten a mythical zone fruit, presumably some sort of mythical elephant zone, to transform it into what we know of today as Zo. Zunesha could just be Pluton in zone form. So I've actually got a surprising amount of evidence to share with you all today. And before we get into it, make sure to subscribe for more One Piece videos every day.
Definitely subscribe to Morj. Go like the video even before you like mine. I'm gonna put it in the bio. You already know. Just go show some love, man.
Now, before we can talk about Zunesha today, we need to first talk about two arcs, Alabasta and Enies Lobby. I think many people have recognized that Wano has strong parallels to both those storylines and features many callbacks to both those storylines.
Facts.
Alabasta was the first time taking down a Shichibukai, a long-running mission that started from the first time the Straw Hats entered the Grand Line. Wano is the first time taking down a Yonko, a long-running mission that started from the first time the Straw Hats entered the New World. The Straw Hats were roped in as outside allies to escort the royalty of Alabasta back to her country and help her in the conflict there. The Straw Hats were roped in as outside allies to escort the royalty of Wano back to his country and help him in the conflict there. Both times, a large-scale war, specifically a rebellion, was a centerpiece of the conflict. In Enies Lobby, the main enemies were Zoans. In Wano, all the enemies are Zoans. We see the same power-ups that were first introduced and debuted in Enies Lobby, finally being addressed, explained, and upgraded once again.
You see, this is why Morj is just the GOAT, just the best, bro. The way he lays it all out is just so straightforward and direct, and he's right. In terms of the Zo argument, I'm like, okay, that's a bit, there were non-Zo. In fact, there was three out of what, 7? No, 3 out of 6. 3 out of 6. So only half of them were zones, The rest just had regular devil fruits. Other than that, the Alabasta argument makes perfect sense, especially the whole fact that it's a monarchy roping in the Mugiwaras for some help, Crocodile and Kaido. So many similarities. And yeah, no, keep going off.
We have CP9 trying to capture Robin, we have CP0 trying to capture Robin. We have traitors and hidden identities, even the Orochi-Kaido relationship was reminiscent of Spandam Lucci. Just in general, we have a lot of simple callbacks to both Alabasta and Enies Lobby, and I mean like really specific moments. Even just thematically, Alabasta, Enies Lobby, and Wano are the 3 arcs in One Piece that focus on leadership, with a bit of progression in each. Alabasta being heavy emphasis on Vivi as our first real model for what a...
I always said Alabasta was about teaching Luffy how to be a good captain, of course, with Drum Island, that whole moment, but also Oda setting the tone for what is a good ruler, what is a good leader, political leader in the One Piece world. It was clearly Vivi and Cobra, those were evidently put forward as like, these are the model rulers of the world. They're the ones who are supposed, I think, obviously to take the mantle from the celestial dragons,
leader a great queen is like, and Luffy actually getting to learn from seeing her leadership.
What I said.
Then Enies Lobby was the storyline of Luffy now having to finally come into his own as a leader, with heavy emphasis on his growth as a captain. And now finally Wano is the arc where we've come full circle, and it's a reverse of Alabasta where we started. But now it's Luffy being the established great leader, and Momonosuke the young royal who is trying to learn from watching him. And so naturally Wano is the arc that centers around Conqueror's Haki and the disposition of a king,
right,
a leader. That's how I've always looked at the connection between Alabasta, Enies Lobby, and Wano. Remember that relationship between that trio. Now, so when I first saw the idea that Zunesha is Pluton, I was like, Okay, that's interesting. And then I remembered this O'Hara tweet I saw where he brought up Funkfried, the sword that ate an elephant fruit in Enies Lobby.
You see, first of all, if you follow me on Twitter, you know I'm a huge fan of O'Hara. You see that right there? That right... Y'all see what he just said? These niggas is spamming Future Sight non-stop, my nigga. He just said Funkfried was a motherfucking... Damn, what's that word? It was like a preamble for fucking Zunesha. An elephant sword, a sword that ate an elephant fruit, devil fruit. Zunesha is Pluto, an ancient weapon. That's a ship that's supposed to be powerful enough to destroy a continent. And you know what that means? I'm not even gonna go too crazy about it because this is really speculative. But like the moon people we saw that Anna was talking to, and like the whole backstory we found about that engineer that that was back on Earth. Clearly, the work that what's the name of that doctor? That Vegapunk is doing about with devil fruits, because he's the one in the One Piece world who's able to make objects eat devil fruits. That's knowledge from the moon people. That's probably the power that ancient kingdom probably had. They probably had all three powers for sure, but definitely that one. That was technology from the moon people. They said, nah, hell no, we can't let you have this.
So first, Pluton itself. Pluton has been a prominent plot point in only 2 arcs prior to Wano.
Okay.
And interestingly, those arcs are Alabasta and Enies Lobby.
Right.
In Alabasta,
Right.
Crocodile's goal was to resurrect Pluton. In Enies Lobby, the world government's goal was to resurrect Pluton.
Facts.
Those were the driving goals of the villains in both of those arcs. In Wano, once again, Kaido and Big Mom's primary goal is to get the ancient weapons. Now, we don't know which one first just yet, but is it possible that the elusive Pluton, the key missing piece from both Alabasta and Enies Lobby, just showed up on their doorstep?
Damn.
The second trend is the idea of weapons eating devil fruits. Before Wano, there were only 2 arcs where we were shown weapons that had eaten devil fruits. First was Alabasta, where we found out that a weapon, could eat a devil fruit. Then was Enies Lobby, where we got a sword.
You see what I mean? You see what I mean? You see what I mean? How does he do this?
That had eaten a devil fruit.
Crazy.
Specifically, an elephant fruit. And now we're in Wano. And Zunesha just showed up, the product of some devil fruit whose name has been hidden, begging the question, what is Zunesha actually? Is it also some inanimate object that has eaten a devil fruit? Now, if we imagine that the 3 arcs of Alabasta, Enies Lobby, and Wano make up a sort of set, it's possible that the first 2 arcs are building up the mystery of the ancient weapon Pluton.
Damn.
Pluton being a heavy focus throughout both of those plot lines. Then the 3rd arc, Wano, is finally its reveal. So if the final reveal to where is Pluton is that Pluton has eaten a mythical zone and turned into a giant mythical elephant, then let's backtrack to setting up that reveal. In the 1st arc, Alabasta, Oda established that weapons can eat devil fruits. Then, in the 2nd arc, Enies Lobby, Oda foreshadowed the truth by showing us a weapon that has specifically eaten an elephant fruit. And then finally, in the 3rd arc, Oda gives us the truth, that Pluton is a weapon that has eaten a mythical elephant fruit. Now, here's a few more pieces that I think fall into place. So first of all, something that I see people saying that I looked up and realized is actually incorrect is that, well, Zunesha cannot be Pluton because Zunesha is supposedly 1,000 years old. If Zunesha is 1,000 years old, then this doesn't make any sense, right? Because why would Pluton have been fed a mythical zone fruit and been made to walk the ocean, even before the ancient war and the Void Century and all that stuff? Well, here's the thing. Actually, Zunesha is never said to be 1,000 years old. That's an exaggeration made by Luffy. What is actually said is that Zunesha is nearly 1,000 years old. Now, the Void Century was the period between 800 and 900 years ago. If Zunesha is not 1,000 years old, but rather close to 1,000 years old, then suddenly the Void Century is a suspiciously viable period for the birth of Zunesha. So think about it. We know that
it would be more plausible that what happened in the Void Century probably happened because Pluton ate the devil fruit, and probably the kingdom was just weakened because of that,
there has long been a bond between the Minks and the Kazukis.
No.
And there must have been a strong bond between the Kazukis and the D tribe, as the Kazukis are the ones who created the poneglyphs that the D tribe, littered the world with. In fact, there are some amazing theories out there.
You see, that's one thing he does sometimes, though. The D clan did not litter the poneglyphs around. We have no idea how, who, or what put the poneglyphs around the world for, until we discovered the real poneglyphs, and then we're like, okay, these will lead you to a laugh tale. But other than that, we don't know who laid them up. We just know who wrote them, and it was obviously it was the Kozuki,
About just how tight the relationship between the Kazukis and the D tribe, and really the Ancient Kingdom and Wano are, all I'll say is that at least we know that the D tribe and the Kazukis are very tight, and at least we know that the Minks and the Kazukis are very tight. So whatever was going on back in that ancient war, back during the Void Century, if we assume that the Minks were likely on the Ancient Kingdom side by association, then perhaps as things were falling apart and Pluton needed to be hidden, it was fed the mythical elephant zone and commanded to walk the seas.
Go off.
The Mink tribe escaping onto it as a safe haven. However, the big question then is who specifically fed Pluton the devil fruit, and who ordered it to walk, and why was it atoning for a crime? After all, this is punishment for a crime of some sort. So to start with, there is potential here for even more of past arcs messaging to come into play, considering what was one of the absolute biggest themes of Enies Lobby. The idea was pushed that even existence is a crime. That was a heavy theme of Enies Lobby. The mere existence of something could be considered a crime. This harsh view was applied, interestingly, to both weapons and to individuals. It doesn't matter if it's a battleship or if it's a living being. If it's dangerous enough, then just its existence can be condemned as a crime. And interestingly, Pluton, Zunesha, is both a battleship and a living being. What did it do that was so terrible? Was this point that something's existence, be that an individual or a weapon, but simply something's existence could be considered a crime, was that point played up so much in Enies Lobby, partly because in the future it would be revealed that Pluton itself was sentenced to walk the seas forever as punishment for the crime of existing. I think that's a really interesting possibility. Now, this does complicate things a lot. It doesn't make that much sense for the world government to have been the ones who turned Pluton into an elephant and sent it off to walk forever as punishment, because wouldn't they have wanted to keep that power for themselves, as we see in Enies Lobby? Though, also as we see in Chapter 1037, there does strangely appear to be some discrepancies in decision-making between the world government of today and the world government of the past. So maybe back then they had different ideas of what to do with Pluton than they do now.
You know what that also means? A lot of theories were that the girls there were immortal or like very, very old, like hundreds and hundreds of year old, or like were from the Void Century. All that's out the window now after with 1037. It's crazy.
Maybe, but then at the same time, how would the Minks have been able to, conveniently get onto Zunesha and roam around the seas if Pluton was first captured and in the hands of the world government? So here's an alternate theory where a few more things fall into place, but only if we really want to get speculative. So treat this next little segment as really just very hypothetical. I still think all the previous reasoning to Zunesha being Pluton does apply even without this next segment. Looking first at Frankie's backstory and the significance of weapons, particularly battleships there. We got themes of responsibility of the creator, weapons being misused, atoning for crimes, etc. With the plot being that Frankie's weapons were misused to frame Tom. So maybe back during the Void Century, Pluton, as a weapon of the Ancient Kingdom, was used by some other enemy to frame them, to frame the Ancient Kingdom. After all, as far as we know, the Ancient Kingdom was likely good. So then why did the rest of the world band against them? Well, the Ancient Kingdom likely needed to be framed by some true enemy for committing some evil act that they actually would not do. The Ancient Kingdom was likely framed by this other enemy in order to get the other kingdoms to decide that the Ancient Kingdom needed to be defeated. We're to tie that back in with the story of Pluton, perhaps foreshadowed by the story of Tom and Frankie's battleships. Then the great battleship Pluton was perhaps secretly misused by some enemy of the Ancient Kingdom to frame the Ancient Kingdom, which may very well have been the trigger for all those other kingdoms banding together against the ancient kingdom. If, after the leaders of the ancient kingdom saw the damage that Pluton had done outside of their control, then, going back to the ideas foreshadowed in the story of Frankie and Tom, the idea that even if weapons and battleships were never intended to be used for a certain purpose, they still end up being used for terrible things, then perhaps it was determined by the ancient kingdom that their own weapon, Pluton's existence was wrong. That's not necessarily the correct thinking, but you could imagine why the ancient kingdom may have thought the way they did.
But it still doesn't solve the problem. How did the citizens of Seoul establish a society, and like how did they, you know what I mean, like how did they get on Zunesha, especially if it was in control of the new world government, you know what I mean? Like that's still a problem.
So, not wanting Pluton to cause any more destruction after its misuse, perhaps even with the advent of a great war against the other kingdoms, the ancient kingdom decided to hide Pluton and to send it away so that no one could ever uncover it. And they did so by feeding it a mythical zoan that transformed it into something unrecognizable, and they commanded it to walk the seas forever, as its very existence was now looked at by themselves and by the world as a crime. The minks were perhaps meant to be the guardians or maybe the shepherds of this weapon. It makes a lot of sense, as the only way to ever find Zunesha, to find Pluton, is if you have a vivre card of the minks. Otherwise, it's simply untrackable, which means that you had to be a friend of the minks to be able to locate Zunesha. So essentially a friend of the Kazukis, a friend of the D tribe. Kind of like the concept of a secret keeper from Harry Potter, if you remember that. And as we progress through the series, it makes more and more sense why the ancient weapons are not just easily found. The world government couldn't just find Poseidon, as Poseidon is an individual that needed to be born. The world government couldn't just find Pluton, as it's not buried anywhere. It's been transformed into a living being that travels the seas, a being that literally cannot be found without a vivre card. So all of that is to say, I believe it is very, very possible that the Zunesha that we see today is in fact the ancient weapon Pluton, a weapon that was fed a mythical zoan devil fruit during the Void Century and sentenced to walk the seas, possibly as punishment for the crime of existence. And ever since then, no one has been able to locate it except for those who are friends with the minks. So that's all for this video, and if you enjoyed, then definitely like, comment, and subscribe for more videos like this every week.
So definitely go hit that like for him. Big Morj. Bro, I think he killed it, bro. I think a lot of it makes a lot of sense. I do think there's a strong possibility that Pluton is Zunesha, that Pluton was punished somehow. Yeah, I think it would just make more sense if, let's say, whoever Joybird was, sort of probably punished him as like a One Piece sentimental moment where like, I'm gonna punish you for 800 years to stay in the background. We didn't win. That's your punishment. My punishment is he probably died in a battle. His punishment, his ship was, you need to go hide for the next 800 years for when it's my time to come back into this world. And yeah, I think it's like, I see it more as a romantic idea like that, but I could be wrong. I can't wait for the next chapter to drop. Hopefully this is gonna release before the next chapter drops, you know, because there's a break this week. But yeah, that's it. Go show love to Morj. I'm gonna put the original video in the bio. And you know, it's your boy ACV, aka Lightskin Baka, aka your boy ACV on Twitter. Follow me on IG at Lightskin Baka. You can find the information in bio. Anyway, link stream my music, you know what I mean? I make dope shit. Other than that, this was a good video. Alright, peace.